Some rock stars just feel immortal, don't they? Their music is the wallpaper of our lives, their voices are burned into our memories, and their attitude can define a generation. But over the last few years, the music world has been forced to say some of its most difficult goodbyes. The house lights have gone down for some of the most towering figures to ever sling a guitar, command a stage, or sit behind a mixing board. We've lost sonic pioneers who invented new ways to make noise, and poets who gave a voice to the overlooked. Today, we're not just reading a list. We're here to honor the spirit and the monumental legacies of 20 rock legends whose music will play on forever. This is our farewell. We'll start with a man whose genius was as complex and beautiful as the symphonies he constructed. Brian Wilson, the visionary co-founder of the Beach Boys, passed away on June 11th, 2025, at 82. His death was attributed to respiratory arrest, following a documented battle with a neurocognitive disorder. Wilson was the mastermind behind the album Pet Sounds, a record so groundbreaking it famously inspired the Beatles to push their own creative boundaries. He's the man who turned pop songs into symphonic art, forever changing what a rock album could be. My dad was a fan of the Beach Boys. They were one of the few bands we both liked. Not sure I would have liked them as much as I do if I hadn't heard them while driving with him. Next, we remember an artist who took that spirit of innovation and created a whole new musical language: funk. Sly Stone, the revolutionary leader of Sly and the Family Stone, died on June 9th, 2025, at the age of 82. His passing came after a long fight with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and other health issues. Sly Stone wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature. His band was a radical, brilliant model of racial and gender integration in a deeply divided time, and their performance at Woodstock is still talked about today. With hits like Everyday People, he built a bridge between soul, rock, and psychedelia that artists are still crossing. We also lost a man who was the antithesis of pop, but just as influential in shaping sound. Steve Albini, the fiercely independent musician and legendary recording engineer, died of a heart attack in May 2024 at 61. As the frontman for bands like Big Black and Shellac, his music was confrontational and raw. But his greatest legacy might be as a recording engineer, where his purist, anti-corporate philosophy helped bands like Nirvana, the Pixies, and PJ Harvey capture their most authentic sounds on iconic albums like In Utero. He was the conscience of the underground. We honor a man who didn't just write songs, he wrote an American mythology. Robbie Robertson, the primary songwriter for the band, died on August 9th, 2023, at 80 after a long illness. He penned timeless stories like The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down and The Wait, creating a cinematic vision of America that felt both ancient and brand new. His sharp guitar work and even sharper lyrical eye made the band one of the most respected groups in rock history. That loss was compounded in January 2025, when the last surviving original member of the band, Garth Hudson, passed away at 87. A classically trained multi-instrumentalist, Hudson was the group's sonic wizard. His iconic Lowrey organ and saxophone parts were the soulful, rustic texture that defined the group's sound on everything from Up on Cripple Creek to Chest Fever. With his death, a monumental chapter of rock and roll truly closed. We also remember a poet of a completely different sort. Shane MacGowan, the brilliant, chaotic frontman of the Pogues, died in November 2023 at 65 from pneumonia, after being diagnosed with viral encephalitis. MacGowan grabbed traditional Irish folk music, gave it a punk rock heart, and sent it tumbling down a flight of stairs. His songwriting was both beautiful and brutal, perfectly capturing the tragedy and humor of the Irish experience. And with Fairy Tale of New York, he wrote what might just be the greatest Christmas song of all time. And we can't forget a true rock and roll original, Sonny Curtis, who passed away in June 2025 at 87. As a guitarist for Buddy Holly's Crickets, he was there at the very beginning. He wrote the rock standard I Fought the Law, a song that became a punk anthem for The Clash, and even penned the theme for the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was a foundational piece of American music. The world is a lot quieter without these 20 icons, but their legacy is anything but silent. It lives on in the records they made, the artists they inspired, and in every single fan who found a piece of their own story in a song. Let us know in the comments which of these legends meant the most to you and what memories their music brings to mind. The rock world was truly shaken in July 2025, with the passing of Ozzy Osbourne at the age of 76. The Prince of Darkness, who had been battling Parkinson's disease, died just weeks after a final farewell concert with Black Sabbath in his hometown of Birmingham on July 5, 2025. From co-founding the pioneering heavy metal band to his larger-than-life solo career, an unlikely turn as a reality TV dad, Ozzy was a cultural icon who defined a genre with songs like Paranoid and Crazy Train. I've done a couple of videos about Ozzy. His death hit me hard. Even though I knew it was coming, it still was a mortal awakening to know that the man singing so many of the songs I cherished was gone. The guitar world lost a true innovator in January 2023 when Jeff Beck died suddenly at 78 after contracting bacterial meningitis. Put simply, Jeff Beck was a guitarist's guitarist. From his time in the Yardbirds to a trailblazing solo career, he was a relentless pioneer who never stopped exploring what the guitar could do. He played with his fingers, a master of tone and texture, who influenced countless musicians and remains in a class all his own. In February 2024, the revolution lost a founding father. Wayne Kramer, the fiery guitarist for Detroit's MC5, passed away at 75 from pancreatic cancer. Kramer didn't just play the guitar, he weaponized it. With anthems like Kick Out the Jams, MC5 laid the blueprint for punk by mixing blistering rock with radical politics, influencing everyone from The Clash to Rage Against the Machine. The Southern rock family also said goodbye to two of its pillars. Gary Rossington, the last surviving original member of Lynyrd Skynyrd, died in March 2023 at 71. As a key part of the band's three-guitar assault, his unforgettable slide guitar on Freebird is one of rock's most iconic moments. He carried the torch for the band for decades after surviving the tragic 1977 plane crash. A year later, in April 2024, the Allman Brothers Band lost its co-founder and brilliant guitarist, Dickie Betts, at age 80, following a diagnosis of cancer and COPD. Betts was the architect of some of the band's biggest hits, writing and singing Ramblin' Man and composing the joyous instrumental Jessica. His melodic style was the perfect counterpart to Duane Allman's slide guitar, creating the very blueprint for Southern rock. Rock and roll is nothing without its iconic voices, and we lost one of the most powerful of all time in May 2023. Tina Turner, the undisputed queen of rock and roll, passed away at 83 after a long illness. From her explosive start with Ike Turner to her unbelievable, record-breaking comeback in the 80s, Tina was the definition of a survivor. Her voice was pure, raw power, and her energy on stage was simply untouchable, inspiring performers from Mick Jagger to Beyoncé. The world of progressive rock lost a signature voice in October 2025 with the death of the Moody Blues' John Lodge at 82. His family announced his passing was sudden and unexpected. As the band's bassist and one of its key vocalists, Lodge was central to their lush, symphonic sound, playing on masterpieces like Nights in White Satin and helping to create some of rock's first true concept albums. We also lost Rick Davies in September 2025, the founder and keyboardist of Supertramp. As the gruff-voiced singer on classics like Bloody Well Right and Goodbye Stranger, his pragmatic bluesy style was the perfect anchor for the band's ambitious, progressive pop sound. Fleetwood Mac lost its heart and soul in November 2022 with the passing of Christine McVie at 79. She died from an ischemic stroke, with cancer noted as a secondary cause. Christine was the band's secret weapon, the writer and voice behind their most joyful and enduring hits, like Don't Stop and Everywhere. In a band famous for drama, her warm, soulful voice was the glue that held it all together. And from the Eagles, we lost the man with the angelic high harmony, Randy Meisner, who died in July 2023 at 77 from complications related to COPD. While often a background voice, Randy stepped into the spotlight to deliver one of the band's most beloved ballads, Take It to the Limit. His astonishing vocal range was a key ingredient to the Eagles' signature California sound. The modern rock world was left shattered in March 2022 by the sudden death of Taylor Hawkins, the beloved and ferocious drummer for Foo Fighters, at just 50 years old. Hawkins wasn't just a drummer. He was a whirlwind of pure joy and energy. A rock superfan who got to live the dream, his powerhouse playing and infectious grin made him the beating heart of one of the biggest bands in the world. We also lost a true trailblazer in February 2025. David Johansen, the charismatic frontman of the New York Dolls, passed away at 75 after battling cancer. The Dolls crashed onto the scene in the early 70s with a glorious, messy, androgynous style that was light years ahead of its time. Johansen's swagger bridged the gap between raw rock and the emerging punk scene, influencing generations of artists. Finally, we honor the one-of-a-kind Marianne Faithfull, who passed in January 2025 at 78. She started as a folk pop darling of 1960s London, but she evolved into one of music's most resilient and uncompromising artists. Her voice, weathered by a life lived to the absolute fullest, became a raw, powerful instrument, perfectly captured on her masterpiece album, Broken English. She was a true survivor and a poet of both darkness and resilience. They may be gone, but their music is forever. They kicked out the jams, took it to the limit, and went off the rails on a crazy train. Their final curtain call has come, but the encore will last for generations. Thank you for the music. Thank you for everything.